MPH Sports Podcast. Talk sport and property with sports people discussing their careers and how property played a part in it.
Kelle Roos, welcome to Talk Sport and Property. How are you?
Yeah, very good. Very good. Good to see you again.
Good to see you too. Can I just say publicly a huge thanks for what you did at Derby County for me a couple of weeks ago. So basically, to explain to our listeners, MPH Sports were invited to Derby County Football Club to host a property workshop for the under-23s. And Kelle, you not only stayed after training to attend the workshop, but you actually stood up in front of the group and shared a personal experience using our service, and you stress the importance of how property can play a part in their career. What made you stay behind that day, and what made you suddenly endorse everything that I just said in front of the lads?
Well, it's quite simple, and I think I mentioned it to the lads. I think in any business world, it's hard to find people that you can trust, that you can work with, that trying to help you from a genuine point of view. So for me, that was the main reason. I think if you meet people in the investing world, football world, etc., it's very hard to kind of like guide who you can trust and who you can't. So I think it was important that obviously we've got a good relationship, and I thought if I share that, then the players, if anything, because obviously at the end of the day it was about the players, they will know that they're in good hands. If they're interested or not is something else. That's completely up to them. But I thought if I show my face, maybe can help them create a little bit more awareness about building something outside of football, then I'm willing to do that. So yeah, that was the reason really.
Well, thank you, mate. I know I called you immediately afterwards, but I can assure you it was well received from the boys. And it was good that they look up to you and they can see a first team player also doing the same thing, what we're talking about. So thanks again. But look, I know you're a fan of the pod. I know you know how this works, but just to remind you again, Kelle, that we're going to firstly talk about your career. Then we're going to do a quick question fire round. We'll try and keep it quick because I know you've got a very, very busy schedule this afternoon.
All good.
Then we're going to talk about my favourite subject, which is property. So right, let's make a start.
Let's go.
29 years of age, born in the Netherlands, 151 senior career appearances, 73 of those in the Championship, and 66 of these are with Derby County. You've also had loan move experiences with Nuneaton, Rotherham, AFC Wimbledon, Bristol Rovers, Port Vale, and Plymouth. So let me take you back to your youth, Kelle, back in the Netherlands. Where did it all start?
Started obviously local. I think like anyone does. Started local, just a kid that loved sports in general, really. At the time, I remember I played volleyball with my friends. I played tennis, football, and I just loved football. So I was always out and about with my friends. That's how it all started. Then a little bit later on, I moved house. I moved from a village to a city, got into a nice football club there. And basically that was the first opportunity for me to become a goalkeeper, because beforehand, when I lived in the village, they wanted me to play me outfield rather than have me in goal. So I was basically not allowed to go in goal. So then obviously I loved goalkeeping for whatever weird reason. I remember playing with my brother in the park, and he used to, obviously as brothers do, they stick me in the net, and I loved it. So that's basically how it started, and from then onwards, got into some football academies, etc. Yeah.
So I want to take you back to 2005. So you must have been about 13. You joined the impressive PSV Academy, and you were there for 6 years, I think. How was that education for you? And do you believe that being part of the PSV setup has largely contributed towards your success today?
Yeah, it definitely has. Obviously played a big part. I think I was a little bit older I think I was 14, maybe almost 15. My first year at PSV. I came from I'm from a city called Nijmegen in the Netherlands. Had trials right, left, and centre over the years, but at the end of the day, didn't got find good enough in a way. So I was like, okay, cool. I just keep doing what I do. I love it regardless. And I played higher and higher level. And PSV came in, and obviously that was a shock to the system. To be fair, I was like flabbergasted, and gone there to trial for a little bit, and then they took me on. And from there, it went really quick. I think the day I went to PSV to the Dutch national team took about 4 weeks. So obviously I got to PSV, had the trials for the Dutch national team with the under 15, which you do through a tournament, got straight in the national team, and I was like, wow, this is crazy. 2 months ago, I was an amateur player.
The opportunities at PSV, straight away, you've got the opportunity to trial for the national team. I mean, you and I met fairly recently. I know we've known each other a while, and I know how tall are you? Because you are a very
I'm 6'6", yeah, I'm tall.
How tall were you at, 14, 15 when you were trialing out at PSV and also for the national team?
I don't know the exact figures, but I was very tall. I was very tall as a kid. It was one of the reasons I was kind of like good at football from a young age, because I was just stronger and more powerful. I could strike the ball really hard from a really young age. And I think I've just grown very fast for my whole youth on towards my probably 15, 16. So I think I would probably be like already like a good probably 6'2" at that age. So I was a very lanky, long young man that couldn't really move that well. So it was one of them. So I was very tall, but I was far from an end product. Back then, I struggled with movement patterns because at the end of the day, I grew so fast that it was difficult in the beginning compared to smaller players that were fast and agile, and so I had to work a lot on that.
In 2011, you were, I guess, released from PSV. How old were you then? Probably 19, 20 maybe? So you're still a young man, having had 6 years at one of the best academies possibly in Europe. How did you take that? How did you handle the situation, and why do you think you were released?
I think, I think on paper I was released. Obviously, every story has got more layers, but to keep it simple, what happened is at PSV we had a very strong first team with a lot of age difference. So at the time we had Gomez as first choice, later on moved on to Tottenham. Then we had Casio Ramos, who was, I think at the time, only 22, probably 23. He was the number 2. And then you had the number 3, who was a year older than me, and he was going to be the future number 1. So although everything went really well, up till the under 19s, I just couldn't find a lot of game time because all the backup keepers were young. So kind of like you had Gomez playing in the first team, you had Casio Ramos playing in the reserves, and then you had the other keeper that was actually a first team keeper playing in the under 19s in my team. So obviously, come Saturday game time, I had to shove over, and I wasn't playing that much. So I was looking to get on the pitch because if you have a spell off the pitch, even as a kid, you know how fast football moves. So I was the big prospect. I was playing. I was Dutch number 1 up till the under 18s. Come on the 19s, I wasn't playing. I remember going to the Dutch national team. Dutch national team coach says, listen, I would love to have you, but our policy is that we don't call up players that don't play. And at this moment of time, you don't make enough minutes. So I have to let you go out of the squad. So I kind of like knew I need to get games. And at PSV at the time, it was going to be very difficult. I requested to leave the club, which wasn't easy because obviously it has to do with like finances and etc. I had a good relationship with the technical director, a little bit better than with the head of academy. And he ended up basically overruling the head of academy and saying, listen, Kelle can move on. There's no point for him to sit in the reserves, because I would move on to reserves and basically don't play again. So I was like, okay, cool. Let's try something else. And then I tried to find another way. And at that time, I did that by going to Willem II. And there then I was number 3 in the beginning, 1-year contract, and just basically hit a bad spell. I had 2 major injuries that season, so I'm probably only fit for a couple of months. And football moves very fast, so then I had to climb back up the ladder, but I stuck by it and got through it in the end.
You came to England in 2013 and you signed for non-league side Nuneaton, where you made an absolute huge impression, attracting admirers far and wide, which then enabled you to have further trials whilst you were under signature there for clubs such as Everton and Liverpool. I need to ask you, why Nuneaton? And can you share us, with us the experience you had at the club? Plus, how did the other trials go?
Yeah, so basically what happened is I kind of like hit a brick wall in Holland. I just came out of my first year as a professional footballer. I was a number 3 at NEC Nijmegen, my hometown professional team. And basically it wasn't looking like I was going to play. I was making some games in the reserves, but obviously you want to play first team football. And in Holland at the time, it was difficult. There was basically almost only experienced goalkeepers at the time. There was not really a lot of space for young goalkeepers. They just had to sit and wait, type of thing. And I knew an agent from England from when I was younger, when I was linked to a move to Arsenal when I was around 16. And I stayed in contact with the agent, and I just picked up the phone and I thought, listen, it's difficult for me to find a place where I can play. And that's what I want to do. I had a year of injuries. I had a year where I played, like a little bit more than a handful of games, but not enough to get consistency. And I knew the only way to show people what I can do is games, because at the end of the day, training is nice, but no one cares. That's simple as that. And we went to a couple of trials, and it was difficult to find a team where I could move in the right position for me and for the teams, if that makes sense. Because now I was around 21, basically zero experience. They liked what they seen, but obviously they couldn't throw me in the deep. So yeah, basically I was basically a little bit in between. And then my agent called me and he was like, listen, I've got Nuneaton. It's a conference. And I was like, okay. Very honest truth is, in Holland, you've got the first league, then you've got the second league, who is already not fully professional. There is good professionals in that league. There's also, young players trying to make it, type of thing. So if you look at the goalkeeper department, it's quite simple. They have a first choice, that's a good professional. Then the second choice is basically based on living expenses, travel expenses, etc. So I was like, okay, conference, interesting. Like, how are you going to see this happen? But to be fair, because I had good feedback in England from places I've been, I was like, you know what? I do agree with my agent that I think I'm on the edge of, securing a professional contract somewhere. So I was like, okay, let's do it. Let's just do it. And he was like, yeah, listen. And I think it wasn't until November I went there. So that's pretty late on. I didn't have any other options. So realistically, I wasn't in the driving seat. So I went to Nuneaton fully blank about what was going on. I went there and it was brilliant. The lads were amazing. Really took me on. In the beginning, I'm not going to lie, they were a little bit like, whoa, who is this like, in their eyes, foreign player coming to our team? Like, what was the idea here? But the club had a plan. They wanted to get me in. invest in me being in England, because at the end of the day I had to live somewhere and I had to drive for training. So obviously the whole club was very in it. So I remember going to Nuneaton. I had like secretaries picking me up for training and etc. It was a lovely little setup. And then it just clicked with the lads, and we got results, we got clean sheets, and ball start rolling, and clubs start calling, and it just went mental, really, like better than I could ever believe. And I was like, wow, this is really this looks like it's working. So bear in mind, I got there in November 2013, and in January I had like a lot of options on the table. So yeah, I went Derby, I went Ipswich, Bolton, Liverpool, and they were all very, very positive trials. Most clubs were interested. Not everybody could get a deal done with Nuneaton, because obviously that was the first thing that had to happen. Yeah, so it was an amazing experience. So I went to Nuneaton in November, and in January I sat in the change room next to Steven Gerrard and Simon Mignolet, which was just crazy. So I was walking through the dressing room. Obviously, young Sterling, Sturridge, amazing players. So Brendan Rodgers as the manager, John Achtenberg as the goalkeeper coach, who is a Dutch background, so that helped. So the goalkeeper coach at Liverpool for years now he's got a Dutch background. He lives in England for years, but he's Dutch. So yeah, it was amazing. It was amazing experience and super crazy. And I think everyone at Nuneaton enjoyed it. The players enjoyed it. Like I remember coming back like on a Thursday, and I trained in the morning with Liverpool, and then going back to Nuneaton and trained with the first team. Obviously, all the lads had all the questions. Yeah, it was just crazy. It was just crazy. But I ended up going Derby. Eric Steele, obviously, the goalkeeper coach, big legend of the game. Steve McLaren, that tried to implement a different style of play at Derby, from a little bit more direct to a little bit more playing out from the back. And I think he loved my bravery and the way I want to play out from the back. So yeah, it felt like the right fit. So that's what I decided to do.
Well, yeah. I mean, wow. Thank you for sharing it with us. I mean, what a memory Liverpool was for you.
Yeah.
And considering, only a couple of months earlier, you're chasing around for a club. Next thing you know, you get the opportunity to showcase your talent, and some of the biggest clubs in the world come calling. You signed for Derby County January 2014 on a 2.5-year deal for an undisclosed fee. What was it about Derby? You mentioned Steve McLaren, you mentioned the style of football. What was it that really gave you that peace of mind and the confidence to lock yourself into the club for the next 2.5 years?
The plan, really, the long-term plan. That was the main thing I was looking for, because at the end of the day, I seen it this black and white. I was at a great club, a PSV, couldn't get minutes in. Then I went to another club, didn't really play as much as I wanted for injuries. And then all of a sudden you go, right, what has worked for me lately? Playing, quite simply. So as big as some of the clubs were, obviously, bear in mind, I'm new to England at this point, so I didn't really understand fully how clubs like Liverpool, Everton work. But obviously, me coming from PSV, one of the biggest academies in Holland, and internationally being seen as a very good academy, I was thinking I wanted to get out of the academy football. So I needed to a plan where I could keep playing, because my memory said I've played 2 months and now I've got 5-6 options. So I just need to keep playing. That was the most important thing. And I felt like Derby was the club that was most cutthroat if it comes down to the plan, how we're going to work. Obviously, Eric Steele, if there's any goalkeepers or any football people, they will know how big he was. He worked with Edwin van der Sar, David De Gea to Man United, arguably one of the best 2 goalkeepers of Manchester United history. So obviously I was very honoured that he seen potential in me and wanted to work with me. And then on the other hand, you had Steve McLaren. He had a little bit of experience in Holland. He knew me from Holland as well. So I was like, this is great. I was moving into a good first team position, ready to push for minutes. Obviously, from a non-league, you don't go to a championship club and walk into the team as you expect. So yeah, that was the reason I signed for Derby. I felt like, listen, I can learn here. I can top up a little bit, get stronger, get bigger, which was important for me. And then that way I can straight away start banging on the door for the first team.
And you did get that chance. You know, September, that following season, you made your Derby debut against Reading in the League Cup, keeping a clean sheet. Wouldn't expect anything less there, Kel. When you join a new club, how important is it to make the right impression and showcase your attitude and your ability to the management and I guess your fellow teammates?
Very important. I think something you can't underestimate is fellow teammates, because if your teammates believe that you're good, then the management will as well, and they will trust you even more so for younger player. It's I think that's one of the people think, oh, the manager picks a team and then the goalkeeper coaches you, and but at the end of the day, if your teammates show in training that they trust you, they want to play with you, they are happy to have you in their small-sided games, simple things like that, that will show a lot to management. So it's very important. And obviously when you're in that age and you're not where you want to be yet, I think it's also very important that you show you want to work, because obviously by sitting still, doing the minimum, well, with my talent, you're not going to cut it, like, put it that way. I have enough talent. That's why I've been in good positions. But at the same time, something I believed in, even more so when I got knocked back, is you need to put the work in. On the pitch, off the pitch, you need to make sure that whenever the chance gets presented, that you're ready, and that you're prepared, and there's no stone unturned.
I think it's really important for us to recognise that you are still very, very young at this point of your career. I mean, you're probably sort of 20, 21. You've been signed by really a sleeping giant in a club like Derby County, huge club, massive infrastructure, and clearly had some great management people keen to invest in you for the long-term future. And like any sort of young, talented player, you need minutes on the pitch, just like you had the opportunity at Nuneaton, and then you were given this window of opportunity where you get to trial out for bigger and better clubs. And Derby obviously, did the same. They wanted to get you out on the road. And like I mentioned earlier, you experienced these loan moves. I mean, you had Rotherham, you had AFC Wimbledon, you had Bristol Rovers, Port Vale, Plymouth. I mean, how important were these moves to you, Kel? And did you have like a favourite or two with a connection with the club or the fans?
Yeah, definitely. They were all very good, very good. Looking back, whether I enjoyed it at the time is something different.
Is it because you were frustrated, or is it the travelling, the packing, the unknown?
No, it's the unknown was difficult.
Okay.
The unknown was definitely difficult, because simple things is I was renting, then I was moving out again, and I was renting again. So like, I've been on contract I think in the first maybe 5 years at Derby, I have moved into 6 different houses around Derby, apartments, whatever you call them. So that's difficult. But at the same time, I knew what I had to do to get experience to go to the first team. So I was willing to sacrifice that all. And for that reason, it didn't really feel that heavy. But after you've done it and you can settle a little bit more, and obviously I've got misses and got a little one on the way, it just feels so much more relaxed now to really focus on solely football and training. And at that point, you was in and out of hotels. I remember like Wimbledon, I stayed in a hotel for like 3-4 months. It's not always ideal. Simply, if you look at food, for example. It's not easy to go out for food healthy, but these things will develop you. So at the same time, all them experience been incredible, valuable.
It's not an easy road to make it to the top.
Well, not for me.
No.
Not for me. I think if you speak to footballers, I think underneath the surface there's a lot of this. I think for people that watch this, it's very important to realize that every player has setbacks. You name him, they have setbacks. If you will talk to Ronaldo tomorrow, he will talk about things that you thought, wow, I didn't think that he had this big of setbacks.
Funny enough, we've got Ronaldo coming on the podcast tomorrow.
Have you?
No.
Yeah, say hi for me. He's one of my best.
I will do, yeah.
Yeah.
But you're right. You do get setbacks, but it's how you react and how you mentally stay strong through those difficult times. And look, in January 2019, after all of those moves, 5 years later, you make your league debut, ironically, against Reading again, under your new manager and my all-time hero, Frank Lampard. That must have been a real special moment, thinking, after all,
definitely.
Now's my time.
Exactly, and it was because it was an interesting period. Let's put it that way, because obviously I signed for Derby, hoping to go into the first team within a year, maybe two, depending on what happens with the first choice. Obviously, first choice at the time was Lee Grant. He's at United now, and he was great. He was a very good goalkeeper. So obviously I was hoping, maybe he moves on, or maybe not, or, you're still a backup. So maybe he picks up a little injury and you can have a time in the game, which is always a very difficult one for a goalkeeper. I just waited my time. But the things that have changed within the club Derby County is incredible. So it's basically grown from, like you said, as like a sleeping giant. In them years, it turned into a giant. So we had top goalkeepers. The sky was the limit at one point, and they didn't need to give chances to younger players at that point. So they would just invest in solid professionals that have proved that they can do it. So that's why I had to find another way, and it took me a little bit to be able to compete with these top professionals, players, goalkeepers. Name them. There were some big players at Derby, so it was difficult to get in that team. And then obviously Lampard came in. I remember having a conversation at the beginning of the season. Listen, what do you think is here for me? I want to fight. I want to be a number one at Derby. He asked me what I wanted, so that I said that, and he was like, right, I think I'm very happy with my first choice at the minute, but I'm also very happy with you. I would love to have you as a number two, and we go from there. And from that moment onwards, I tried to impress him in training. I think the style of football he was looking for, it suited me. And I think slowly but surely, I convinced him that I'm a good player. So it was incredible, special that of all managers I had, that he turned around and gone, you know what, I like this guy, and I'm going to play him.
He not only gave you that opportunity to play, but he also kept faith in you, Kelle, for the rest of that season. And your performances helped the side get to the playoff final. Kelle, what was Frank like as a manager? And I have to ask, how frustrated were you after that playoff final against Aston Villa?
Well, you can't describe that feeling. I think it's the worst feeling for a player to be so close to something so great for the whole football club and can't quite grasp it. I think that's why, it's difficult as a whole team, as a club, to come back from those kind of things. As you have seen in the past, there's not many teams that go play a final and then do it again next year. Brentford did it. Listen, that's a very, very, very strong organization to do that. So it was devastating. It was devastating, and it's a feeling you can't describe. On the other hand, I played a good season. I want to push on. I want to, like Lampard, unfortunately left that summer because obviously he done great with us, which obviously changed the picture for me again, which was difficult. But at the same time, I think he was to me, he was an incredible manager. He was very open. You can have good conversation with him. We clicked really well. So he spoke to me a lot. If I was a number one or a number two, I think the communication was very strong, and it's something you can see on the current manager Wayne as well, which I think is vital to keep players pushing for places. So yeah, he's definitely been a great manager for me, and something I will never forget.
Your contribution towards the club's success at the time rewarded you with a new 3-year deal. Would Derby the club you wanted to remain at the time?
Yeah, definitely, because I had a good connection with the manager, with the goalkeeper coach, and I knew football is quite a fickle world. If you go somewhere else, you have to prove it again. There was definitely a bit of interest, but I still felt like I had unfinished business at Derby. Yeah, some things you can't foresee, and Chelsea came in for Lampard, and there's obviously something he couldn't turn down. But for me personally, that was tough, because he was one of the reasons I wanted to stay. And also on the other hand, one of the other reasons was that I wanted to keep pushing and make this club great. So I felt like I had unfinished business, and I wanted to keep pushing.
As you said, Frank came home to my Chelsea. Philippe Cocu came in, and has obviously since been replaced by Wayne, as you said. Would you mind sharing with us what life was like under Philippe and what's now different under Wayne?
I don't want to go too deep into detail on that one, if I'm honest, but it different. Call it that way. I think Cocu was a little bit more introvert, and yeah, it was difficult sometimes.
Okay.
And obviously, on the other hand, Wayne came in and I think brings a lot of clarity, whether you like it or not. I'm a strong believer that for me personally, I like truth. You like it or you don't. That's not up to you as a player. At the end of the day, that's up to the manager. But I like good communication, where you know what you're going to get, so you know what you have to give as well, to make your team as a whole more productive. So I think that was for me great. From the moment that Wayne came in, we spoke a lot, and he's very open in what he wants, what he needs, what he demands, etc., etc. And for me, that is something I like. That's something I like, and I will always respect.
Do you think that's quite common for? I look at the young British managers in football at the moment. Obviously Frank Lampard, Wayne Rooney, Scott Parker. They've got so much drive and ambition. Do you think that Steven Gerrard, another one? Do you think communication is paramount to really help pull out the confidence and the talent within the player? Because clearly, with someone like you having the opportunity by being spoken to with Frank, similarly with Wayne, do you think that's a real keen attribute?
I think for goalkeepers it is. For goalkeepers it is, because for players life is different. I think if you're second right back or third right back or first right back, what position is there. All of us, like, there's a lot more in my eyes that you can do, get in the team. The opportunities come faster.
Yeah.
They might leave faster as well, but the opportunities come faster. So I think for outfielders, it's sometimes maybe a little bit less important. I think for goalkeepers it is, because You need clarity in your department, I think, and if that's not the case, then there is a lot of frustration because you either play or you don't with a goalkeeper. You don't play one game and you do come on or this. That doesn't exist. So if you are not playing for a longer period of time, it's mentally quite difficult to stay on top. Put a little bit of communication, of what you need as a player, etc. will definitely change that. So I think that for me that's very important, but that's obviously my opinion.
You know, and you're very open. I mean, we talk regularly, and I love our conversations. You're quite deep, but you're also incredibly bright and intelligent, and you're very motivational. So I enjoy our conversations, whether it's before training, after training, whatever it's going to be, because obviously we do a bit in property, right? And I can imagine why a player or a manager would want to communicate with you, because you're very likable. And I think that would reinstall the faith and the confidence in you as a goalkeeper, because you're in a very exposed position.
Yeah.
You know? Does that make sense?
Yeah, exactly. And I think the way I work is I put a lot into my football career, a lot of energy. I don't leave any stone unturned. So I think as a player, the minimal you can ask for is a little bit of communication. That's what works for me. But at the same time, I do understand managers have 25 players to look after, sometimes 30, etc., etc. But I think if you look at, to be very honest, if you look at the top of the food chain for managers, I think they're all very clear in their communications. If it's Tuchel or Klopp or Lampard or Wayne, or if you look at the bigger managers, they look first and foremost very driven, which obviously will rub off to the players. I think at the end of the day, if they don't leave any stone unturned, as a player, you can't afford to not do that either.
Yeah.
So I think little things like that, I think you can see that maybe a little bit different to back in the days. I think the managers coming up and being very successful, you can see that, they realize that their whole team needs to be on the same page. And it's not good enough to have 4 players frustrated in the left corner, four players frustrated in the right corner, and just turn a blind eye until you need them. It doesn't really make a great team. It's short term, it might work, but I don't think it's going to bring you a lot of success. You need 25 players driving each other on, and you can't all play. That's life.
Yeah.
So players can accept that, I think, as long as they feel fairly treated.
Kelle, we can't ignore the press and the recent news about Derby County and the recent points being deducted.
Yeah.
What is the mood in the camp at the minute? I mean, I know a few of the boys there and yourself, and how desperate and unified are you all to keep that club in the Championship? And I mean, it's a difficult task ahead. I mean, how has the boys reacted to the reduction?
We knew there was things coming. So I think as a team, we were prepared by the management staff, by everything going on around the club, by the owners. We were prepared for some sort of point deduction. So, but what you're never prepared for is if a club hits administration and people that worked for the club for 20 years get moved on. Obviously, as you've seen, I have been at Derby County now for 8, almost 9 years. And it's tough. It's tough to see people that put their livelihoods into the club losing jobs, losing their beloved jobs. With all due respect, and there are people that live from paycheck to paycheck. That is very difficult. That's very, very difficult. And I think as a team, like how weird that might sound, that motivates us to make this, to keep this club as much as possible in a healthy position until the storm settles, if that makes sense. So we are very much as a team motivated to make everyone that wears a Derby badge proud, no matter what that might mean, if that makes sense. That might mean, like, if we get a points deduction or not, like, we are motivated to, from a week-to-week basis, to perform to the maximum of our ability to give some sort of pride to the fans, to the people behind the scenes, to the kit man that has been there for years, them kind of thing. So I think we as a team are getting very close in this circumstance, and we are doing everything we can with the coaching staff to give some sort of pride to the club in this difficult time.
Very well said. And I probably can say on behalf of every Derby County fan, we're all behind you. Every single Saturday now, I'm looking at your results thinking, come on, let's defy all the odds and let's do it. So listen, mate, thank you for being so open, honest and transparent. That's really good of you. So, right, I'm going to move on to the quick question fire round. Are you ready for me?
Yeah, let's go.
Yeah? Okay.
Yeah.
One, the best player at Derby County?
Currently.
And Wayne has retired, yeah?
Yeah, that would be an easy one. I think you can't go around Phil Jagielka. Massive career.
What a legend.
Can't even stretch it. The other day, we were in the dressing room, 700 games. Crazy.
Really?
Incredible career. So, obviously, that is, I think, we've got some very good players, but that's the one.
What other position do you wish you have played at a professional level and why? Defender, winger, striker, 6'6", but a crouchy in you?
I wouldn't play on the side. Not fast enough. I would quite like I would like a little bit of everything, if I'm really honest. I'm not really a midfield kind of guy because it's just too far from my abilities. But I think centre back appeals to me.
Alongside Phil and Curtis.
Yeah, battling with strikers, trying to find creative players on the ball. I think that I would enjoy that. At the same time, as a goalkeeper, you're just looking at that goal scoring feeling, and that's what you want once.
Absolutely.
So I think everyone in football wants to play striker.
The best goalkeeper you have had the privilege of sharing a pitch with?
Ooh, that's either De Gea or Ter Stegen. Played against Ter Stegen in the national team because he was my age group. And I played De Gea in a cup game, so it's going to be one of them.
Okay. So the next question was the best striker, and you're going to say Neymar.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. I don't know how you want to do that, because that was under 19 football. That was not a first team game, but
doesn't matter.
If I count, because obviously at PSV we played a lot of international tournaments. We played against great players. I played against Kevin De Bruyne, Lukaku, great players. But I think I got to pick Neymar because there was just one thing he did that day that was just mind-blowing. Yeah.
Okay. I've been excited to ask this question all day. Frank Lampard or Wayne Rooney in a penalty shootout against you, who wins?
Wow.
Come on.
I am.
No, sitting on the fence.
Clean sheet. No, I'm staying on the fence for that one. Listen, I couldn't call that. I could not call that.
Did both coaches, as in Wayne and Frank, I mean, clearly they've sort of this massive appetite for football, both unbelievable penalty takers. I mean, do you see, are they often going, Kel, come on, me and you, after training?
Yeah, they do.
I'm going to work on my pens.
They do, because they love football. So when they see a ball, they can't stop hitting it. And obviously as a goalkeeper, you're on goal. So like they will hit free kicks, they will hit penalties, they will basically hit, if they can, they will, because they are, I think what them type of like big players have in common is they love it. They love it. They're driven and they love it. Them two things to like a degree that I think most people don't understand.
So are you honestly not going to give me an answer?
No chance.
So
Next one.
Okay. The one thing you have to compromise to make it to the top. And that's so boring in comparison to the last one. Come on. What's the one thing?
It depends how deep you want to go. The one thing you have to sacrifice.
Yeah.
That I have to sacrifice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So like something that's in my life now and I have to sacrifice.
Yeah. To make it to the top.
To make it to the top for my lifestyle now, not so. I don't. That's hard because I like to think I'm up there looking after my body, looking after my mind. But the thing I need to sacrifice, because I live in England, I feel like the sacrifice for me is always missing big moments back with the family.
Yeah,
that's one big sacrifice. Marriages. Friends getting married, newborn babies.
Very, very good answer.
That is a big sacrifice I have to do, and COVID is not helping either.
No.
So I go for that.
Your career favorite moment.
Winning a playoff final with AFC Wimbledon. Yeah, that's like my adult one, and my kids one is making my debut for the Dutch national team.
Amazing.
For the youth team.
Was that the moment? The final with Darius and Lyle. Yeah. Brilliant. Yeah. Brilliant. He said the same thing. I'm pretty sure he did.
Yeah, with the Wolfpack.
Yeah, it was a good day. Your favourite ground that you have played at?
Oh, that's difficult. Old Trafford, I would say. Never played at Anfield, so it's got to be on. It's got to be Old Trafford. Yeah,
that's a cool stadium. Right.
Yeah.
2 more. Saving a penalty or keeping a clean sheet?
Keeping a clean sheet.
And lastly, before we start to come
now, wait. Save the penalty, catch the penalty, give an assist, and get a clean sheet. Boom.
Done. And lastly, how many properties are we buying in 2022?
Oh, need to have a look at the missus for that one.
On that note, let's come back and talk property.
Talk Sport and Property Podcast, sponsored by MPH Sports Property Academy. Download the app today from the App Store or Google Play by typing in MPH Sports, the trusted go-to app for sports people looking to buy or learn about property.
Kelle, welcome back. I mentioned earlier that we only met fairly recently when Simon Ord asked me to come in and do a talk with the under-23s. It was so good to see you and a few of the other boys again. But we have met virtually many a time, like we are today, doing this podcast through Zoom, because Curtis asked me to do a workshop during the first lockdown. I mean, ever since then, you've been, so supportive, and you've recommended me to other colleagues and teammates. In your opinion, why is getting property right so important to young players?
I think because obviously your cash flow is higher than people your same age. So I think you need to understand that if you are 21 and you are on your first pro deal and you think you might only earn £1,000 a week, that's a lot of money. And no one else on your age earns that. So you need to understand, I think it's very important for young players that they need to understand that they need to invest in the future. If that's going to be property or someone else or whatever they are feel affiliated with, that they enjoy doing, that they would like to develop themselves in. I think that's the main thing. And I think in the football world, if you talk about players, whether you are 16 or you are 25, you're very likely earning more than people your same age. Your friends from school, etc. Call them out. So I think it's important that instead of thinking, right, this is what I have and I'm going to use it and I'm going to buy a new car, although my insurance is going to be skyrocketing, that they create a feeling of why, what else could I do? Because maybe at that point they don't think there's anything else to do with it. But yeah, I like investing a lot. And why that is because first and foremost, it educates me every day. I think it's one of the most important things, talking to you, talking to people that in investment, property developers. I think all these things that I enjoy learning them things more than anything. So yeah, that's why I enjoy it. And I think it's important to look at the future because, we all know the stories from players going bankrupt. And I'm not saying that it's their fault or nothing like that. I just think it's good to get depth in what else you could do.
I know you've got a passion for property. You were very clear about that at the time when we first started talking. But I want to take you back to when you bought your first property. When did you buy your first flat or your first house, and where was it?
Yeah, that's a very good question. But my first house I bought 2 years ago. So that's very recent.
Wow.
That is very, very recent. But because in the beginning, I'm not gonna lie. I'm safe. I like to call myself safe, even more so before I knew about investing. I was like, I don't trust this person and that one, and I don't know enough myself to kind of like check if they know what they're doing, if that makes sense. And I think that's an important thing. I think a lot of people will turn down opportunity because they just think, well, he can say what he wants because I don't know. So that was something that was hard to break through. And for me, for example, when I went to Derby, and because I was very late, I was always like a couple of years behind in my career. Like you said earlier, I'm relatively young in my career. And I was in Derby and I was moving in and moving out and etc. I didn't really feel settled. I had this thing in my head where I thought my first house needs to be very nice. Where I should, like looking back on it, I should have just bought my first apartment I rented. Beautiful apartment. I think at the time it was probably like 140 grand. I think now it's like 190, 200. I should have bought that or something similar, and just go from there. But I rented with someone else, so my cost was low anyway. So in that sense, it wasn't the end of the world. But until I took on a financial advisor about 2 years ago, I knew I had to do things different. That before that time, I just had my pension and I had my salary in my bank account. Basically, that was it. But now I'm doing it all different. So I'm houses and Bitcoin and stocks and shares, pensions. So now like watches, all sorts. Even looking into art.
I guess back then your primary focus was football. You were club jumping.
And I felt like, I think one of the main things was I felt like I still had to like start in a way because I was on loan a lot, and I still felt like my career wasn't quite started yet. So why would I start thinking of like other things than just solely football? And I live and breathe football. It was very hard for me to learn. I needed to learn that football is not 24/7, because if you do it 24/7, it's very tiring and you can't enjoy it as much as you should. So I've got a way better balance of football and life, if that makes sense. And before, I felt like it was just solely football. It was just football. If I have to move, I move. If I have to do this, I do that. And I still do. But I like it makes me mentally better on the pitch if I am not overthinking it. But when I'm just doing the work that I need to do, as in training, I do my yoga, my gym work. So I still do a lot. But for me, it was very important to find hobbies off the pitch, which I didn't really have. I don't play PlayStation. I didn't really have hobbies. I was like, PlayStation, I can practice on my left foot. That's a waste of time. So that was the way I worked. And I think it got me very tense at times. I need more, I want more. And so I was just solely in that tunnel. And that I think that's changed a little bit when I matured and when I settled.
Well, I think over these last 2 years, you have played catch up. You know, you've become more mature in your football is, I wouldn't say that's sorted, but you know, you've been given an opportunity as a first team goalkeeper, which you've grabbed with both hands, and therefore you can it probably allows you to now focus on other things at the same time, and you're in a good place right now. And I guess that property has now played a part in your career over the past 2 years. I mean, you and I have we bought three, 4?
Yeah, we bought 3 and we're doing the 4th now.
And we're doing the 4th now. So how many do you have in total?
So I've got 3 more.
Okay. So you've got 6.
I've got my own house.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I got my own house.
Uh-huh.
Then I got 3
with me,
with you, and a 4th coming.
Uh-huh.
And I've got 2 other apartments.
Okay. And where are the 2 other apartments?
Nottingham.
Okay. And how are they performing for you?
Good. Very good. They are a bit different because they are more, I bought them more for the market growth rather than the yields.
Mm-hmm.
I think everybody watching this knows that, but what that means now, and if not, he will explain. So yeah, I bought that a bit more based on that. And to be fair, what happened is, and I think that's something that's very important. When I started with you, I didn't know anything. I just knew that you was going to find me a nice house, and and I was like, you show me pictures. I go, yeah, it looks nice, So I didn't have a lot of knowledge, and I thought it was going to be a lot of work, if I'm really honest. But then obviously I got into it and I got one, and I'm thinking, oh, nice, and I would like to do something else. And all of a sudden the ball started rolling. I've got one of my good friends is a mortgage broker, so he helps me with it. And then I got introduced to like property developers, and then you can get in quite early, and then you're buying at good value, and so when I started with you, because like I think the credit to you and the company are that you guys are actually helping you educate as well, which then means that you can do things like that and learn yourself if that's what you want. If you don't, that's fine. But that's what you can do. So these 2 apartments are like quite high standard. They bring in a lot of rent. The mortgage is a little bit higher, etc. So it's a different type of investing, but I think it makes my portfolio more all round in a way.
I think it's important to diversify, and thank you for your very nice comments there. But you are a privilege to represent, Noah. You're very easy to work for because you are enthusiastic. You're very responsive. You're keen to learn. You always ask questions. Therefore, we're always passing more information on to you, which allows you to explore other opportunities away from us. But the reason why we teach it is not for necessarily people to come and buy through MPH Sports. It's about providing people with the information and education and to avoid mistakes and to make the right decisions in the future whenever they decide to buy. I mean, do you think property was always going to be part of your plans at some point?
Yeah. Because I always believed in it. I always believed in the structure of how you can make it work for you. I also believe strongly in passive income. And this is what I'm trying to create for myself now. I'm trying to create during my career a way that after football, I can live in a house with wife and children, hopefully, that I have the freedom to do what I like to do. If so, let's say I would love to work at Starbucks. Let's say, right? I can do that. I can do the job I love after football, because I'm not a sit-at-home guy. I don't think I would do that. But I could work at Starbucks, earn whatever money comes with that, and still have a nice life on the side. And I think that's my goal, to have the freedom to do that, to just think, listen, if I like to do that, if I like to study a little bit more, if I like to do this, that's all my options, if that makes sense.
It makes perfect sense. So what you're saying is that your investments that you're making now are going to allow you to become financially free by the time you retire.
Yeah. And I think what I did is I started quite late, like we spoke about earlier, but at the same time, I feel like the ball's rolling now. I know what I'm doing. So hopefully I like, my goal now is to build it from strength to strength and see how that unfolds. But at the same time, I like to be as diverse as possible. Why? Is because I'm just a safe guy. That's how I work. Like some people like to, I don't know, start with building 5 flats, which is a lot of investment. They have to deal with contractors, etc. So, like, some people like to do that. I like to start, like, build slowly and like have more layers to it. So there is different things going on.
Yeah, it's low risk, isn't it? It's low risk. It means that whatever you're investing in today will give you financial gain when you need it, because you don't need it at the moment. You're in a very privileged position right now with, you know, in your home and your wife and little one on the way. Congratulations again, by the way. Amazing news. Amazing. And this is what you're doing now, is you're putting foundations in place for the future. Is property investment as popular in the Netherlands like it is here?
It definitely is. It definitely is popular, but Holland's very, what they say, the government in Holland is very proactive. So if they see something develop, they will put a stop to that very quickly. So, like, take for example, Airbnb Amsterdam. You know, all of a sudden people realize that you can earn a lot of money with Airbnb in Amsterdam. So for that reason, whole Amsterdam changed into Airbnbs, and they want people to live in Amsterdam. That's what they want. They will still want to be a city where people live and tourists come to, and then that makes a nice city. So, like, I think in a lot of countries, England being one of them, they just let that simmer for a couple of years. They let that simmer and they think, and before you know it, all of a sudden they say, oh, the whole of Chelsea is owned by Russians, and they never lived there, for example. And in Holland, they're quite fast with those kind of things. And at the minute, the housing market in Holland is absolutely crazy. And I mean crazy. Everyone is paying over the odds. I think there was a stat the other day that there was only one house for sale in Utrecht. And Utrecht is a big area. Let's say it's East Midlands. There was only one house for sale for 2 people with general income. So 2 people together, there was only one house that they could afford. So that's 2 times 42,000 a year, which brings you to 84,000 a year. And there's only one house you can buy for that kind of salary. Crazy, wow. Crazy.
Where do you think your inspiration has come from with property in the last couple of years? Apart from myself, of course.
I think, you're one of them. But I think it's self-education, really. If I'm really honest, I like to dive deep in. I like to. I always like to develop. So I take, and I don't like to sit still. Like I said earlier, I'm not someone that enjoys FIFA or and I'm not good at it either. So for me, my hobby in a way is developing myself, my skills, whether it's studies, investment. I like to buy into something and educate myself. So that's what I like to do. So it just turns from a hobby into, okay, that's interesting, and then it moves on to the next steps, and then it's also about, for me, about having people around me that can help me and tell me more about it, and I think because that's how you, at the end of the day, receive knowledge other than from the internet. So yeah, I just like to develop myself, and I think that turns into things like that.
With all this investment in yourself and education, what do you think you're going to do after football? Not that you're, too old in the tooth or anything yet.
No, but it's difficult. There's a lot of things I like, but it's a difficult one, because at one side I would love to be a technical director, not necessarily of a football club, but I would love to do that kind of thing. I've been in negotiation rooms, and it's right on my street. I think I love, like you say, I love conversation. So yeah, that's something that I would like to do. I think, but at the same time, maybe it's going to be a football coach. My brother is a very, very talented football coach. He's at a professional team in Holland, and maybe I would like to jump in with him and learn from him how to coach, and maybe get the bug that way, because I've done my B license, and I surprisingly enjoyed it. I just did it because I thought it'd be good to have. Once again, just developing myself, and I actually turned out to enjoy being on the pitch, explaining football to the kids. And so there's a lot of things I like. Whatever I fall into, I don't quite know. Yeah, but I'm definitely into that corner. I think I would like to do. So if you talk about, probably my ambition is to be a technical director after football. But then again, I think after my career, I would probably love to live in Holland again, and I'm not sure if that's going to be possible, etc., etc. So yeah, pretty flexible.
Well, whilst you're educating yourself to become a technical director, do you think maybe you could do some property workshops for us?
Yeah, I'm an expensive guy, Lee. Don't ask me them questions.
You did it so well.
I'm an expensive guy. You don't want to go there. I love doing things like that. I love to speak in front of groups. Yeah, so I like to think I'm quite open-minded if it comes to all sorts of things. So yeah, that's definitely that could be. I could see myself developing in something where you're a little bit more, talking to groups, etc. as well.
Kelle, I've got honestly more questions here, but I'm mindful of the time.
Yeah, and I need to get to the dentist.
I know you do. I know you do.
Yeah.
Kelle, listen, mate, I can't thank you enough for coming on. Thanks for just being so open, honest.
I'm trying.
Listen, I know we said it earlier, but we're all rooting behind the boys this season. I really, wish you and the lads every success. And listen, mate, I'll catch up with you in a week. But listen, thanks so much for coming on TalkSport and Property.
Yeah, brilliant. Cheers for having me, Lee, mate.
Top man. Cheers. Thanks, buddy.
Bye-bye.
Cheers, mate.
Bye-bye. Have a good day.
You've been listening to TalkSport and Property. Visit the App Store and download the MPH Sports app today, or keep up with us over on Instagram.